Hello everyone, Jeff Eggles here with The Lonely Vine. And usually I start off with a little bit of intro. I'm going to skip that today because I'm going to taste two wines for you today. So I want to try to keep it under 10 minutes, so I'm just going to get right into them. I'm tasting a couple wines from the Franciscan estate today. And if you remember, a couple months back ago, I did a tasting with Jeff Solomon, another blogger over at StayRadWineblogTV.com. We did the Cabernet Sauvignon in that show, and both of us scored it pretty high. I think we were both right around the 90-point range and both really liked the Cab. So I'm interested to get into these white wines this time around. The first one, which would be the lighter bodied one, is going to be the Napa Valley Sauvignon Blanc. This is the 2011 edition. And a little interesting note on this wine, when they're making these wines, it's actually kind of a blend of multiple Sauvignon Blanc wines. They find wines that are more mineral based, and they make those wines like they would in Loire Valley, like Sancerre, where it's a cooler fermentation, it's a slower fermentation to really keep that minerality high in the wine. And then the wines that are a little bit more sugar, a little bit fuller, they do more of a New Zealand style making of the wine, where they actually leave the skin in contact with the wine for a while, get a more full fruit wine, bring out some of those more characteristics. And then when they're both made, they blend them together to come up with this particular entry. So let's get into this one. Okay, so color-wise, you can see it's pretty light, which you would expect out of a Sauvignon Blanc. We'll call this one straw yellow. No real green tint to it. You might see green tint if you were looking at a cooler climate wine. This one doesn't have anything like that. On the nose, interesting nose. So I do get a lot of that New Zealand quality. I get that grassiness. I get that, I get some grapefruit. I'm also getting some melon, just a lot of tropical fruit kind of aromas coming into it. And there is this sense of minerality, of wet stone. It's not like big, it's not real in your face or anything. The fruit is more coming through, that grapefruit, a little bit of lime. That grass is really coming through. So just on the nose, it seems more New Zealand style. Let's see what's going on in the palate. So interesting on the palate. I do get a lot more sense of the minerality, especially right up front. It almost has this effervescent, almost light kind of dancing, kind of bubbly kind of thing right up front on the palate. Even though obviously there is no bubbles in it, but it just has that feel. There's a nice acidity to it, not a real high, but a nice sense of acidity. I'm also getting that grapefruit. I'm getting kind of a grass. Nice kind of long finish to it as well. This is a suggested retail of $17, and this is a nice effort. I haven't had a lot of Sauvignon Blancs out of California. I tend to go with the Sancerres or the New Zealands, depending on what style I'm looking for. But this is interesting because it kind of is a play between the two. The New Zealand style comes through a little bit more, but there is this underlining minerality that I wasn't expecting. That's nice. Yeah, nice effort. I do get that grapefruit as well. I like it. It's an interesting mix of the two styles. At $17, it's definitely within the budget of what I would say to give this one a try. unless you're really looking for that high minerality, Loire Valley, Sancerre kind of driven, or you're looking for that real, big grass, big tropical fruit, New Zealand style, you can probably get that at a lower price point. But this is kind of a nice kind of play in between the two. That's kind of interesting. It's not what I was expecting. So it's kind of I like the fact that it's a little bit different, and then it kind of brings those two worlds together. So melting pot of Sauvignon Blanc, if you will. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. And this one's going to be interesting. I'm excited about this one. This is the Franciscan Estate 2010 Chardonnay. This is the Cuvée Sauvage. Probably not pronouncing that right, but oh well. So what's interesting about this one is that this is a wild fermented wine, meaning that generally when winemakers are making their wine, they're adding the yeast to the grape juice once it's ready to be fermented. When they choose their own yeast, they're able to draw out the qualities that they want. Yeast adds a lot of different components to the wine, and they can choose which ones they want to use. In this case, they get the grape juice ready, they put it into the oak barrel, and then they play Vegas dealer, and they're just kind of like, we're done. And they let the wild yeast that's already in the winery ferment the wine. And that can be a combination of yeasts that they've used in the past, natural yeasts that are in the environment, which ones have become dominant. Multiple yeasts can get in there, ferment at different times. So it's a much more natural or way of doing it, and not a lot of people are doing that, especially in California region. They may be the only one, really. So I'm interested to see how this one turns out. This is a suggested retail at $40. So right away, I'm going to put the two up here. You can see the difference in color. The Sauvignon Blanc is much lighter, what I would call straw yellow. This one is more just yellow, but there's a little bit of gold to it. It's not real deep and dark, but it's definitely darker than Sauvignon Blanc. So on the nose, so you can tell this one has been in oak. There's definitely a big vanilla kind of thing coming through. There's also some apple. And you can tell, just on the nose that this is going to be a bigger bodied wine. It's going to have more body, more oomph than the Sauvignon Blanc did. Not that I'm comparing the two, but I'm kind of comparing the two. Yeah, so the vanilla is really coming through. There's some red apple more than like green apple. And with the vanilla, it's almost got there's almost like a coconut thing to it, almost like a tanning oil. Okay, so let's see what's going on the palate with this one. Nice acidity to this one. There's a nice finish to it too, and this one has definitely seen oak. It was 100% French oak. I'm not sure on the combination between new and used, but it's definitely coming through. And hold on a second. There's some nice honey, almost a honeysuckle kind of thing going on. There's some melon. That apple's kind of making a play in there. There's some pears. So there's a lot going on. But for me, for my palate, I get a lot of that oak. I get it on the finish. The finish really becomes a lot more honey-like. Definitely a real smooth kind of velvety kind of thing, a nice body to this wine. And if you like those kind of wine, this wine is not one that I tend to gravitate towards right now. But I could see a lot of you that like that oak play, that like the oaked, the buttery, the real creamy Chardonnays would really like this wine. I could see this going with a lot of comfort foods. this wine would actually make good plays on during this time of year, during the winter kind of stuff. Pot pies, heavier kind of dishes. This one can stand up to it and hold its own. I'm even getting a sense of a little bit of orange peel as it sits here and kind of plays, as it kind of carries through to my palate. Definitely get that vanilla. There's that butteriness. There's all that stuff that people either love or hate about Chardonnay. This has a beautiful finish to it. I will say that. It's just not the kind of wine that I really gravitate to. But like I said, if you like those styles, you will like this wine. That's really all I can say about it. I would put this one, if I was going to score this one, I would put this up in the 89 kind of range. Yeah, so it is a well-made and very good wine. So I want to preface that because I don't want, even though I may sound like I don't like it, it's just where my palate is right now in tasting wine. Okay, so I do want to do for a question for this show, and since holidays are right around the corner, I'm curious, for those of you that are kind of wine nerds or more into wine, is there a wine gift that you're hoping for that's on your wish list if you've been nice this year, or if there's somebody you're a wine friend of yours, is there something that you're planning on getting them? So what is on your wine geek nerd wish list or give list this year? So that's it for me. I hope you're having a great day, and until next time, cheers.